older adults and how the city can make age-friendly policies and programs. So as I'm going through this, you're going to see that we're not just talking about the things that are stereotypically older adult. Older adults use every city service, everything that happens in the city. Older adults are starting businesses, older adults are using services, older adults are having a good time. So older adults are part of every decision that we are making as a city. And so we are a body that is to advise you in that capacity. And so here it is in our charter. We were created by ordinance on February 5th, 2019 by recommendation of the 2018 Mayoral Task Force on Aging. Our responsibilities in ordinance are to study the demographics of the city by age, identify needs of older adults, age 55 plus, ascertain services and infrastructure, determine gaps, and then, as I said, make recommendations and advise the board, mayor, and other city officials. Oh, echo. So an age-friendly city is a more livable city for all. So we became part of the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities in July of 2019 by recommendation of that same 2018 task force. Last year, we launched our 2025 to 2028 Age-Friendly Little Rock Action Plan focused on 4 domains of livability: communication information, housing, transportation, health services, and community supports. Our commission has 1 commissioner for each of the 7 wards, plus 8 at-large members, and each member serves 4-year terms. We recently had a presentation to our commission, thanks to our vice chair, about the roles of commissioners, and I thought it best to share that back with you all in this takeaway that I mentioned about coming to us. So ward commissioners are there to know the ward's neighborhoods, to hear from older residents and groups, to build a working relationship with their ward director, and bring ward level patterns back to the commission. For our at-large commissioners, they're looking across wards. They're noticing citywide patterns, guarding against fragmentation, and asking whether recommendations serve all of Little Rock equitably. Commissioners also serve as a bridge. So as a commission, we are here to listen to older residents and neighborhoods and to make decisions and make recommendations and pass it up to the full commission and to city leadership. And then it's supposed to move back. So we can also be a conduit back to older residents and neighborhoods to share information, to translate ideas. This isn't a checkbox, this is a channel of communication. So we can be there to co-create policy, to host public forums, to be an incubator for ideas, to flag when there are friction points with older adults on any decisions being made, to amplify voices, to translate ideas, and to connect people to one another. So the duties of commissioners, of course, attending our monthly meetings, third Thursday, 12:30 to 1:30, West Central Community Center, actively participate in one of those 4 action plan committees of the domains that I mentioned earlier, attend at least 1 regular board of directors meeting a year. So you'll be seeing these faces and more at board of directors meetings going forward. And then establish a working relationship with the city director. And so you'll hear later an ask from you all, for you all to make that connection as well. And of course, listening, connecting, and representing is a big part of that. So our current commissioners and their assignments to different committees. So myself and Gail Choate are with the Transportation Committee. We're the chair and the vice chair. We have Joan Deal, who is the secretary and the committee chair for health services and community supports. We also have here Joe Akeke from Ward 4. We're still assigning him to a committee, but we'll get him assigned to one soon. Same with Kat from Ward 5, and she'll be assigned to a committee here soon as well. We have 2 commissioners who are pending reappointment from this body. We hope that happens next week, fingers crossed. And then we still have, so counting those 2 that are pending, we have Ward 3 and 3 at large and Ward 7 that are missing that we need commissioners recruited to. Not only that, but we also have several collaborators at their table, several that are consistent. Of course, our Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you to the team that is constantly helping us and responding to last minute requests like today. So thanks, y'all. We, of course, have AARP Arkansas, UIMS, our Arkansas Geriatric Education Collaborative, Central Arkansas VA, Alzheimer's Arkansas, LifeQuest, and many, many more that are in the works that have been working with us in the past or project by project help working with us. So next, why does this matter? Little Rock, we want Little Rock to be an age-friendly city, but why? So we are an aging city, we're an aging country. So 1 in 3 residents in the city are over the age of 50. From 2010 to 2020, Little Rock's proportion of people under the age of 60 decreased and people over the age of 60 increased. And that means our median age is increasing in this city. And our older adult population is growing faster than our child population. This is true across the country and even more pronounced in rural areas, especially in Arkansas. And Little Rock is attracting more older adults than other cities, according to some reports this year. But our state still ranks low for older adult well-being. When we think about why to do this, of course, there are many things that are specific to older adults, especially economically. People 50 and over contribute $8 trillion to the US economy as consumers, workers, and stimulants for new markets. Older adults are starting businesses more frequently each year, and often those businesses last longer than those started by younger entrepreneurs. Older adults are also community anchors through volunteerism, civic engagement, caregiving, philanthropy, storytelling, and many, many more roles that they play. But most importantly, like I mentioned before, a more age-friendly city is a more livable city for everyone. So the AARP Livability Index measures each neighborhood, city, county, and state across those domains of livability I mentioned earlier. The city improved from 2024 to 2025 in every domain except for transportation and engagement. So you can see here, this is the overall score for from 2024 to 2025. It went from 48 to 50. And then this is the breakdown by domain. You can see engagement went down by 1 point, transportation went down by 2 points, neighborhood scores, particularly around security, went up quite a bit, and then housing and health bumped up just by 1 point as well. We use this data, and we use a community assessment we made several years ago to guide our decision-making, our plans, the action plan that we got approved last year. And there are several areas of improvement. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but it lines up with much of what we just saw with that data and where we can continue to make headway in this city, as well as assets that we have as a city that we can lean on to meet those needs. So some successes. So we have the Senior Center. So thank you, board, for approving that funding in September 2022. Renovations began last year, and hopefully very soon that will be ready to go. Not gonna give a timeline, but hopefully that'll be ready to go soon. We provided input on the center from the very beginning, and we'll continue to do so. The topic of next month's meeting is actually on those standard operating procedures and different roles and questions that are coming up as we're developing programs for the Senior Center. We have launched an age-friendly business certification program. This is the first of its kind in Arkansas. It's supported by AARP Arkansas, the Better Business Bureau of Arkansas, the Little Rock Chamber of Commerce, and other community collaborators. So local businesses can get certified through practical training and small accessibility improvements that benefit every customer. That's things like barrier-free spaces, clear signage, accessible restrooms, and supportive staff. There is a link that you can go to, but it's on the Better Business Bureau website. So if you're a business in the city, go through this training and get certified. We also helped write a grant with the City of Little Rock that the city won. This is a grant to help establish the Wakefield Opportunity Hub at 7414 Doyle Springs Road. This is going to be a neighborhood-based mini city hall supporting older adults with staffed computer stations, bilingual navigation assistance, accessible space improvements, and age-friendly community programming. And older adults will be trained as peer navigators to help build digital literacy skills. And then, of course, we've written several letters to you all. So 2 of those have seen some progress. We clarified the rules around virtual attendance for boards and commissions, particularly for our demographic. We got new lighting installed at the front door of City Hall to prevent trip hazards. And the pending ones are the reappointment that I mentioned earlier and several recommendations on boards and commission application and appointment processes. Work is underway on those. So some opportunities for impact. So we have some goals for this next year. First off, fill all the seats on the commission, #1 priority. Also, commissioners meeting with their city director at least once. We would love to support and win additional AARP challenge grants and other grants for the city and other organizations in the city to support older adults. We plan to launch an updated age-friendly webpage on the city website, integrate services and resources at the Senior Center after a successful opening, including a revamp of our Summit and Expo that is usually done annually, and we're skipping a little bit so we can build up the anticipation for the Senior Center. We're receiving some livability data from AARP that's broken down by neighborhood, and we plan to analyze that and to help inform city officials, including you all, neighborhood by neighborhood on some of the scores and things that are coming up in that by your neighborhoods. We also hope to launch a training on age-friendly practices and decision-making for city staff and commissions, and of course, advance other action plan goals that we have. So some timely recommendations, because it behooves myself to do that right now. There is a Pulaski County Hazard Mitigation Plan being renewed this year, and we are asking that you seek and incorporate our feedback in that. We had a conversation as a commission after the January winter storm about the impacts, particularly on older adults, and how the city can better improve the response specific to older adults. And we would like to be part of that planning process. It is also property tax appeal time, so it's a good time to talk about homestead tax credit and the age 65 or disabled homeowner property tax relief, and of course several other services that make housing and utilities more affordable, or that prevent other housing issues in the city, like writing wills. So we are asking that these services and resources get integrated into programs that the city is running, so that as older adults are being served, it is connecting them directly to those things, getting them signed up for that property tax relief, because it freezes their property taxes right then and there, or getting them to write their will, because we don't need any more heirs property issues than we have in the city. Also follow through on recommendations on the board and commission process. It's about budget time, so fully fund senior affairs programs and staff through Parks and Recreation. And of course, ensure the targeted neighborhood funding that we have as a city is being utilized in all areas to its fullest, and that it aligns with our action plan. A couple of event announcements. So we have a film screening coming up. The documentary is No Place to Grow Old. This is going to be on September 10th, Thursday, September 10th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at Cowell's Ron Robinson Theater. It's free admission. This is a documentary on the systemic challenges and personal stories of the growing number of older adults experiencing homelessness across the country. So we really encourage you all to come out to that. Anybody, please come to this. It's going to be a great conversation with the hosts as pictured above. And we're excited to bring this conversation to light because it is a growing issue in this city as well. And then another announcement, ADU for You Design Competition. So we have an awards ceremony on September 11th from 12 to 4 at the City Center. So we would like you to come to that as well. We have helped the Our Little Rock and other groups pull together designs from our local architects and designers. And so this award ceremony is a chance for you to see the winning designs to inspire what could be possible for backyard cottages that fit into our neighborhoods, fit into our climate, and that meet the expectations of the 2025 ordinance that you all passed, while flexibly meeting residents as they grow older at every stage of life. We know that ADUs are a great part of aging in place. And so this is one reason why we're supporting this. And finally, some ways you can help. So recruit older adults to become peer navigators for the Wakefield Opportunity Hub. There is a flyer that is out on the table out there. So please take that and recruit older adults. We also ask that you recruit commissioners to fill the vacant commissioner seats. We have flyers for that available as well. We ask that you meet with your ward rep and/or your at-large representatives. Say hello to them when they visit board meetings. Please follow up on our letters in a timely manner. We love that. And then recognize Senior Citizens Day next Friday, August 21st. So just a final reminder, whenever you're making a decision, please contact us to ask how it will impact older adults and how the city can make more age-friendly policies and programs. Thanks.
You gotta press it. just two quick comments. One for the rest of the commissioners who are here. Thank you, and also to the board. All the commissions that I'm on, and that's 3, have been discussing the letter about appointments. And right as the meeting started, I noticed I had an email from the Sustainability Commission with another page of recommendations for things, because we met about it last week. And then to the board, Blake and I have a meeting with the city manager on an upcoming Friday to talk about that. So,
What's the issue about the appointments? What's the issue?
about the appointments and the process, and then what I mentioned to you about having that holiday gathering. I mean, we don't want to talk about that tonight. And that's what the note from the sustainability.
Oh, about having a holiday gathering. Yeah. Well, I'm with you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank
Appreciate
you
all the work that you guys do. All right, Mr. Starlings and Ms. Sheridan.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Board. As part of our ongoing stewardship of the city's medical insurance plan, we're taking a clear look at the funding options available to us. We've asked JTS, our benefit strategy consultant, to provide a straightforward overview of how each funding model works and what it would mean financially for the city. This is an informational session to prepare us for the decisions that are ahead of us in the weeks ahead. With that context, I'll introduce JTS to walk us through the funding options and how each supports responsible cost management. We welcome your questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is John Starling, and I've got Charles Angel here with me to start our presentation. The idea was just to have a basic, very high-level educational on how self-funded insurance works, the pros and the cons to it, so we can have an open communication. We ask for questions, but the timing of this is even more relevant when we look at the current status of healthcare, health insurance, and specifically as it applies to our program. So I'm going to let Charles take it from there.
Thank you, John. Again, the intention tonight is to be purely educational, and we don't want to take too much of your time. We just want to make sure that you guys are seeing everything that we're seeing, because in conjunction with your Human Resources Department, we have been monitoring claims throughout the course of the year. And as we started to notice some really ugly trends in April and May of this year, we started to really try to dive down and find what we could do to potentially bring you all solutions as you entered into your budget period. So just to give you a little historical background, we took over as the consultant in May of 2021. As you fast forwarded through those next 4 years into 2024, we were able to save the city $5.4 million in premiums without affecting your employees' benefits at all. So one thing at JTS, we're not going to come to you and say, oh, look, we got a savings because we pulled your employees' deductible from $1,000 to $6,000. That's not a savings. That's a cost shift onto your employees. So we left the plan designs the same copays, the same deductibles, the same co-insurance amount, but we're still able to save that $5.4 million by pulling some other levers. I want to be very candid with you tonight. We feel like we've probably pulled about all the levers we can on the fully insured side. Again, I would defer to John, but the last couple of years have started to trend a little more in the wrong direction. We have gotten rate increases over the last 2 years. Thankfully, those have not chewed up the full reserve that we'd built of that $5.4 million. But as we look at where we are now, I just want to give you some high-level numbers. Over the last 12 months, we're running 142% loss ratio. So just a very high-level way to look at that. For every dollar we send in premium, Cigna's spending $1.42 to pay our claims. And the trend is getting worse. So if we look at the last 6 months, it's 150% loss ratio. So same math, just for every dollar we send in, $1.50 gets spent. So with that being said, just to give you a very direct look at where we are, the first numbers that we're seeing as a renewal this year have come in at a 35% increase. That is an incredibly high number. Knowing that, we knew the budgetary implications for this board would be very important, so we wanted to get in front of you as quickly as possible. It's only 6 months of data, but given the fact that we're trending up, I think we really need to prepare for some different ways to potentially mitigate that and see if we can work those costs back down. I'll pause for questions momentarily, but a few options that we think we can look at would be carving out our pharmacy and or our specialty drugs. You guys, if you watch television, you see there's many advertisements out there for a drug. If you know the name of it, it's probably very expensive. So there are some ways we can carve those things out and deliver some more savings there. Benefit and plan design changes. We try to avoid these things, but at some point, if the finances get too far the wrong direction, sometimes we have to add additional options to give employees some more choices and rate those things accordingly. Eligibility restrictions can come into play. There's guardrails that we can use, direct contracting with facilities and with doctors, as well as narrow networks. These things can really help drive employees to centers of excellence, which can get them better results, as well as a lower cost for the plan. There's also a clinic strategy that we're already implementing together with Human Resources. We've looked at the Samaritan Fund and additional carriers that JTS has the exclusive right to broker. So we don't want to come and just scare you tonight, but we want you to understand the financial reality of where we are and that we may need to look at some different funding options as we move forward.
And I think the relevance to this is the timing is such that these options that we just laid out, most of them are not available as a fully insured plan. For us to be able to activate or look at any of these options to try to contain some of these costs and or mitigate these costs, we really need to be on a partially self-funded basis. And I know that is a scary word, but there are ways to where we can capitate our risk. If we're looking at a rate increase of this magnitude, we have to consider every single option, and that is what we intend to do. Are there any questions before we move on with the educational program?
Let's just keep going to finish the presentation.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mayor. So fully insured is where we are currently, where we've been. I'll be quite candid. Fully insured is kind of the easy button, right? Everything is packaged into one area. You still have all the pieces that you would have in any other option. You still have a third-party administrator. You still have a network. There's still stop loss baked into that. It's just all put into one package. The premium is the premium. You know exactly what you're going to pay every month depending on eligibility, and the risk is on the carrier. But as we've seen, sometimes when everything is prepackaged and easy, sometimes that's the most expensive option as well. And to John's point, we don't have any options. When we get delivered a fully insured plan, the formulary is the formulary. The network is the network. We can't unbundle any of those things and put in a narrow network or carve out our pharmacy. It's just not allowed. That's not the way fully insured works. So that's where we have been. There's some upside to fully insured. Again, it's easy to budget for. You know exactly what you're going to spend based on eligibility. The downside is you can't customize anything basically with fully insured besides what your deductible is and what your copays might be. Second option you'll see up there is level funded. It's kind of training wheels, if you will, as we move towards a self-funded option. Really, it looks and feels very much like a fully insured plan. The premium is still the premium. It's technically on a self-funded chassis, but they still give you a direct premium based on enrollment each month, and that's what you pay. It has all those components as well, but you can potentially keep some surplus if you have a good year. We haven't seen a surplus in a couple of years, and I'll be candid with you in the level-funded options. Traditionally, they put more into the admin cost than they do the claims bucket. So it's difficult, I would say, to see any kind of a surplus on a level-funded plan, but it is possible. The big thing on that there is on the level-funded portion though is you also cannot carve out your you cannot carve out your PBM. You cannot change your network. You still cannot customize your plan. So level-funded doesn't give you a whole lot more functionality than fully insured. The last two options are self-funded, where you're completely bundled with a carrier. So you would use a Cigna, a Blue Cross, a United Healthcare. You'd use their network, their third-party administrator, their stop loss potentially, their pharmacy benefit manager. The risk now starts to move a little bit towards the city. You still have that stop loss in place, so you can manage that risk and keep it to where you can easily budget for it. But now this is where you can start to receive some of those rebates back on your pharmacy. And those numbers can be staggering, and we will get into that. But then really, if you get into the unbundled self-funded, this is where we feel like you can realize the majority of your potential savings, because that's where you can get into the other functions like a narrow network, like direct contracting. You can carve out those specialty drugs on option 3 or 4, but specialty drugs tend to be a large percentage, 40 or 50% of our pharmacy spend, with only 1% of our population on a specialty drug, if that gives you any idea what the price points on those end up being. So this just kind of gives you a little side-by-side view at the pros and the cons. So if you'll see the fully insured and the level funded, that's what I was talking about there, where the city just pays a fixed amount. It's pretty easy. We get a bill, we look at it, we say we have X amount of employees on employee only, Y amount on family. We pay the bill. That's with fully insured or self-funded or level funded. On the self-funded side, everything is kind of unbundled. So we pay the administration fees. That's our third-party administrator that actually pays the claims for us. Our stop loss premiums, again, so we can mitigate that risk, and then actual claims. I'll tell you, if you're on a self-funded plan the first month, you won't pay very much in medical claims because the hospitals don't have them in yet. So you'll see it kind of catches up later. But you pay those actual claims. So you have to kind of budget for those ebbs and flows on claims because they will change. You're also paying your own there. So you look, who pays it? That's actually the carrier. So that can be a good or a bad thing. If you have a bad year, you can pay more in claims. You have a good year, you're paying out less. You would keep that savings. Do we know year over year if we're gonna have a good year or a bad year? We do not. But again, we want to go back to the stop loss to really help us mitigate any true risk there. So that's where you get into the claims data. And I personally think, and I'll defer to John on this, but I believe that getting your claims data is how we can truly strategize and customize your plan to pull some of these things back that have been happening. Because right now, we get very limited claims data. A couple times a year, we get a look at simple claims versus premium, maybe some large claimants, but we don't really know what's driving it at a timely fashion at all. But if you are self-funded, you are going to have full monthly detail every month to see exactly what's going on our health plan, so we can see which strategies we need to use to customize your plan in order to mitigate those costs.
So, I mean, and to that point, that those claims are detailed to the point that we actually have software that we can plug it in that predicts the outcomes based off the utilization of what that person may have in the future and how it would impact us. How we need to change our plan designs, benefits, whatever we need to do, but more importantly, knowing what we have coming so that we can prepare for it. As a self-funded plan, stop loss covers that unexpected large claimant so that we can capitate our risk. But that's for the 12 months moving forward. After that, we have to prepare what's coming for the next iteration, the next year and the next year. So having that specific data allows us to really try to understand what is driving our claims. At a fully insured level, while Cigna gives us very good data, it is nowhere close to what we can get on a self-funded basis.
I'd like to point out that's not a Cigna issue there. No fully insured carrier gives proprietary data. They give somewhere around what state mandates they give to us. The beauty of being self-funded is it's no longer proprietary data for the carrier. That's our data as the city of Little Rock because we're paying those claims. So that's really what allows us to get there. So you see the typical fits on fully insured. That can be for any size group. Traditionally, you'll see that under 200 on the fully insured side, level funded, 50 to 250 employees start to sneak into that. Most of your employers that are 200 to 300 employees and up, though, really start to consider self-funded because at some point, these rate hikes, like I think we will quite possibly be looking at for 2027, just get to a point where you can't replicate that year over year. It just becomes cost prohibitive. Do you want to get this? Go ahead. Okay. So the recommended next steps, proposals have come in. We're starting to review those now. On the self-funded side, they're not firm because the carriers will all want full data through August before we can firm that up and know really what the liability is on that. As I told you, it looks like our renewal on the fully insured side is coming in around 35%, which obviously we want to find something lower than that and continue to negotiate that. We'll be scoring those responses within the next 3 weeks. We'll also do the negotiations there because as this board has seen before, just because something is the first shot in doesn't mean it's what the carrier is going to finalize with. There's usually some room in there that we can we can get them to come down. And we have been quite successful the last couple of years getting Cigna to come down quite a lot. Number three is to really project worst-case scenario for you all as you go into the budget session and let you know what the city's claims history is. Again, the software John spoke about to look at the trends that we see out there and the pharmaceuticals and see where we can shave some of that to let you guys know exactly what you'd be looking at on the budget. And number four would be your board recommendation to you all to say, listen, we believe these are the finalists and we believe these are the 2 or 3 options that would look the best, give you the total potential cost there, worst case and best case, and then you all would make a decision.
And I think one thing that is important to note is this. We are not saying that you need to be self-funded. We're not saying that you need to be fully insured. What we're saying is we want to explore everything because we need to at this point. And our job is to go back and find every possible solution that's out there. Whatever it may be easy, it may be hard, it doesn't matter. We need to do that to present that to you so that you can make an informed decision on what is the best for the city. And we're trying to do that as timely as we can. It is August the 11th, and we already have a renewal back. That is about as good as we've ever gotten. So that does give us a little bit of time to try to figure out what we really need to look at, but it also gives time to make these considerations for budget, because at this point, when we are running at 150% claims to premium, then a 35% renewal is not a terrible renewal on a fully insured side. I would just be honest with you. But that is not sustainable for the city either. So, we have any questions?
Thank you so much. We'll start with Director Capiris.
Thank you, Charles. You did a great job. You're very good at explaining that. Just put numbers on 150%. What are we in the red on for the first 6 months? How many dollars are we in the red?
If we did projections assuming that we considered it the same rate, acknowledging that most people that are in the large climate area have hit their deductible, so now we're picking up 100%. We're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 to $9 million.
That's for half a year.
No, that's for the whole year.
The whole
I'm
year.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so $3 to $4 million is what we're, as a shortfall at a minimum right now. Now, I will point to this, and this was not our intent to come in and talk to y'all about the health, but at the same time, we need to make sure that y'all understand where we are and what we're trying to work with. Our pharmacy has increased by 50%, 45% this year. It increased by 40% last year. When we took over, it was $3 million and change on the pharmacy spend alone. It is now somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million at the end of 12 months. That is unsustainable, but that is not something that we have any control over as a fully insured plan. If we go to the self-funded side on that, what we typically see is somewhere in the neighborhood of a 30% savings on the pharmacy alone. That's probably on the low end, but that's $3 million of this possible $6 to $9 million increase that we're looking at. It's worth, like I said, it's not easy, but at the same time, desperate times, difficult times, man, we have to look at all these things.
The second question is, and I've got a series of questions, but the second one is, how many employees do we have that are insured by the city?
Right around 2,000, is that 2,200? Excuse me.
And how many claimants of that 2,200 are making up the bulk of that $6 to $9 million? I think people need to understand that it doesn't take many.
So I will tell you that there are, if I remember looking at it correctly, there are 6 claimants over $500,000. Largest claimant being at $2.1 million at today's date. Another claimant is closing in on the $2 million. Of that, I believe there's somewhere around probably, I'm going to say 75 to 90 large claimants, which would be claimants over $10,000. So if you look at that, that total spend on our large claimants, do we have those numbers? I thought we had them. Bear with me. And we have some information that we can obviously hand out on claims and,
Well, my point is that it doesn't take many claims out of 2,200 to get us to this number.
our top 5 claimants equate to around $3.5 to $4 million. Or excuse me, they're topping $5 to $6 million.
And 2 years ago, we were, our ratio was to the good to us, right?
Correct.
So basically what's happened since you've taken over is we've gone like this and now we're back up.
When you look at it, the curve, we started out at about, I believe, $18 million. We got it down to $14.5 million. And in the last 2 years, we have trended back up to roughly 200,000 over the 18 that we were at.
So another question, as we are considering self-funded, how much money does Nick need to have in the bank for us to do that?
I wish it was that easy, but you know,
I mean, I live in this world and you do too,
I know.
but they don't, no one else does but me. So
I
they
know.
need to understand just an idea of what numbers we're talking about.
So I mean, let's put it in perspective of what we know. Worse, if we have an offer of 35%, and that looks like about a $9 million increase. So we know that there's $9 million right there. If we made no changes and we got no better offers, that's a budget number in and of itself. If we think that we could cut the pharmacy by going self-funded out and we could save somewhere between $3 and $6 million, which is realistic, that gets that number back down. The downside to that is we do have 5 very large claimants. When you go self-funded, there's a negotiation with the stop-loss carriers to where we're going to have to pick up some of that. And so I don't have the crystal ball in front of me. We will not have finalized stop-loss rates, probably about 120's best, probably 90 days out, which puts us in a little bit of a time crunch. Not a little bit, a lot. But this happens every year. We go through the same conversation every year. It's like, I think you and I talked probably 3 years ago. I wish we would have gone self-funded 3 years ago, but you know what it is. I wish. But the reality is we're now on the upslope. And I know y'all see the paper, y'all see the news. This isn't just us. The state's underfunded by 30 million, or at least something to that effect that I saw. We're about to possibly lose Medicaid, expanded Medicaid coverage for 200,000. I'm not making a political statement, but if those 200,000 don't have care paid for or covered, they become uncompensated care. Our hospitals are dying as it is right now, which means that we as employers are going to subsidize all that, which means our cost goes up. It's the environment we're in. I wish I had a beautiful answer or a great answer to all this.
But it would require us having to put away a certain amount of money that you will tell us at some time, and it's probably a 2-figure number.
Yes,
Okay.
I would agree.
So I just,
To fund this appropriately.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He was talking about the first 2. I tracked with it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it as we're going to put back 9 million or 6, 7 million or somewhere in that range if we stay fully insured.
Just, John, just 1 second. Nick, if you'll come up, please. Let's just be easier for the board members to make sure everyone is aware. I just want you to state, sir, it's like you're in court. What's our current healthcare budget? I don't want a lot of explanations. Just, what's our current healthcare budget?
You handle it.
Well, right now, I'm sorry, I'm Jane Bradford, I'm the Benefits and Risk Manager. Right now, we are
In the mic.
on track to be at about 18.5 million for our premium.
I understand that. What was in the budget that we passed in 25? 426. That's another thing too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it was right at 18 million.
All right. So board, thank you. That's it. So board members, what they're sharing with you is we're gonna be over budget, number one. Let's be clear, and which is not uncommon. That's the reason why we have cash flow. That's the reason why we have budget amendments, and we have a very good health insurance, clearly, because a lot of our members use it, as we shared. And what we're really talking about, 10 to 15% of our workforce is really making up most of these claimants, which is the reason why we have to be uber focused on prevention, which is the reason why Sheridan and Jenny advocated for this health clinic that'll be going inside the 12th Street substation here. Hopefully they'll open pretty soon, along with what's going on with the fire department and police department, what they utilize with protein on Murray Street. So we're going to be over budget, which we generally always are, because you can't project an illness and what kind of illness you're going to have. What we have to understand, and what Director Campiris will often tell you, and everyone's right, we've been talking about going self-funded for several years. The reason why we've never done it, even though we may have wished to have done it, is because during the climate, it was cheaper from a budgetary standpoint to go fully insured. And we were looking at the amount of money we would have to put into reserves, and that's really the kicker. You got to have the reserves, because you're going to have an employee that could cost you $3 to $4 million, and you just got to take into that. So it's not a gamble, but you got to take an educated guess. And right now, if we're already projecting 35%, John is correct. It's not sustainable. We could probably do it, but sooner or later it's going to burst in our face if we don't do the self-funding. I think this is probably the best time. I think Director Campiris would agree. Clearly, we want to look at every option available, but essentially it's a little bit more than 18 million, and 30% of 18 million. We're looking somewhere around 22, 23, maybe 24, $25 million for the next budget, which then cuts into other things that we have to fund for this city. So just think of it in that context. And so the city manager, myself, and Sheridan and Jenny, what we're going to grapple with is, do we take the educated guess now to move forward with self-funded? But even with that, let's just say self-funding, we can probably slice and dice with the pharmacy, which I think will be very helpful. But we still got to understand, we still got to put away at least $10 to $15 million in reserves. And that's also an educated guess and gamble. No matter what we do, we got to cut some large checks. Director Pierce.
And let me just say, I'm not casting any aspersions. I voted for every one of these things, and every time we got ready to go self-funded, they came back with a rate that we just could not do, and I agreed every time we did it. You know, everything. Think of all the money you could have made if you'd done the stock when you wanted to do it and you didn't do it. But it's just a fact. A couple more questions. You mentioned that there's some people that you deal with that no one else deals with that we might be able to talk to. Who is that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Charles said that there's some people that y'all have access to that no one else has access to that we might look at for the insurance.
So we have the ability to quote with the municipal league, the Arkansas Municipal League.
So that would be an option too.
It is, and we've worked with the municipal league over the last several years, and we know that there may have been some
the
hiccups.
last one is something that we have always said we wouldn't do, but I agree with the mayor. If you say we have $10 million extra or $7 million extra, we are going to have to budget. Is that about what you're saying?
10 to 15, not 7, but yeah.
But a lot of money.
Yes.
And I hate to bring this up, but are you going to start looking at the hard choices of dependents, how we take care of that? I mean, we're in a place right now where we have, to me, we have money coming in that we've got more money coming in. If I look at what Nick tells me each month, if we can get a little bit more concise, 74 pages the other night was a little much to read, but it was good. But we're gonna have to start making some hard choices. So are we going to at least talk about the option of dependents and other things like that on how to keep this manageable?
Absolutely. We're gonna look at every option that's out there, present it to the board, and then let y'all decide on
And
what
before
makes
you
sense.
say, and while we will look, I don't want our, team members who are watching this very closely right now. We're gonna maintain a top-tier insurance package. I want to be very clear. There are other things to be cut before we start cutting things that impact our team members. I want to be clear on that.
Absolutely.
And I agree with you, but I think we just need to at least hear all the options so people understand what you're doing to fully vet this problem. Because that's $10 million out of our budget all of a sudden is going to be a lot of money. And if we've lost, if our ratio is going to lead to $8 or $9 million by the end of the year in a negative, 30% renewal rate would be a pretty good renewal rate, in all
have to
honesty.
agree.
In addition, and I'm saying this now, and it's already recorded in union language. I mean, if we got to cut a certain amount of checks that impacts our budget, board members and union members will be calling. I'm letting you know now. At the end of the day, we got to take care of health insurance for our employees. We may have to revisit union agreements. Not necessarily, we're not going to take anything away. It's just things we've grown accustomed to as we move forward, we may not be able to do because we got to pay for health insurance. So as they call you, if we happen to make any decisions that impacts that, that's what you call an economic, it's a language in the union contract that gives that ability that we can revisit. Revisit may mean we just don't do certain things we've done in the past that we would do in the future. Be very clear that everyone needs to understand that when you get those phone calls, because we got to take care of the health insurance for every employee. But again, nothing's happened.
That's right.
We're just starting this early.
We're just
It's
starting
August. It's not November. We're good.
So Mayor Scott, I'd like to point out exactly what you said, that all we're doing is looking under every rock. We're not recommending any funding mechanism, any carriers. I know municipal league can be scary, self-funded can be scary. We just want to look at everything and see what's there. Things have changed with self-funding over the last decade. Things have changed with municipal league over the last decade. So we just want to make sure we're looking at everything, showing this board all the options that are available, and you all will make a decision at that point. But again, I agree with you totally, Mayor Scott. I grew up in a public sector household. My father was the human resources director at City of Fort Smith, and he retired from State of Arkansas. So I understand what that means. We must keep benefits strong for our employees. That's why I'm proud of the fact that when we came in, we were able to generate those savings without cutting any benefits for employees.
Well, and the last thing, are you going to look at a closed panel as a way of saving money?
And when you say a closed panel, a narrow network?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're gonna look at every option, and then it's for y'all to decide whether the savings are worth.
Well, and lastly, I want to thank the mayor and y'all for coming in early and talking about this. I'd rather talk about it in the heat of the summer and know what the options are, so when they come up, everybody isn't surprised when November comes along. So thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Director Phillips, then Director Hines.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Director Compiers, because a couple of my questions he addressed. I do want to follow up something that was just said to make sure I understand it. The narrow network, I know we're just talking options.
Yes.
No decisions. I understand that very clearly, Mayor. But if we did the narrow network, that would change the benefits to the employees, right? Because then they would have their provider may not be in that network. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. You can, when network has different components to it. One component would be narrowing the network of providers so that it would steer more of our insureds to those providers, which would cause them typically to lower their rates. But that would mean that there would be other providers that may not have access to insureds, which would then deny those insureds access to whom they want to go to. That's just one way on the network. The other part of it would be direct contracting with certain facilities and providers to get a better rate than maybe we were getting with our current network or the network of whatever network provider we went with.
So the coverage would stay the same, but we would use a narrow network to get better rates. So instead of going to Dr. Joe, you go to Dr. John, and you would still get the same level of coverage.
Correct, and you
Yeah.
could, we've done it before, where you could tier out providers to where this is a tier one provider. We know that this is a lower copay for the employees than they currently have, or the same copay. But if they choose to go to someone else that is not a Centers of Excellence or is not in our network, then they would pay a higher copay. So it would create steerage toward a certain provider or facility. But we have no, that's just an option we're going to present. We would obviously look at all the different providers and facilities, and it would be up to y'all to see whether or not that was worth the inconvenience it might cause to some of our insurance.
Yep, understood. And I share the mayor's position that we got to keep it the same for our employees. So I understand we got to look at every option, but that's definitely where my heart is at this point. Second question, as it relates to the stop loss under the the self-insured, can you give an example of what that number would be and how that would play out? So we can understand it from a conceptual standpoint?
So the way that, and Jennifer, if you want to talk about because typically what the stop loss is on a per employee per month basis. So they charge for every employee, every member that's on the plan. So it may be $5.28 per member, and then the family gets a separate per employee per month fee. The reason that we like self-funded is because all of this is out in front of us. We know exactly what the administrative costs are for every single provider. And you really can dig down and find out who is truly the lowest cost and how can we get it to the bottom. But if you want to talk about
Yeah.
that.
It would cap your risk, though. Is that the question you were asking?
Yes.
Yes, it would just mean, it would depend on what we set it at. So you probably start looking at like 250,000 for a claim, and then anything over that amount, the reinsurance carrier would reimburse the city for, if the member went over that amount.
And I'm assuming it's kind of an inverse effect if you go higher on the stop loss.
That fixed costs are lower.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
So we'll look at a wide range just to see what makes the most sense.
Okay, understood. Just like my personal insurance with my deductible, if I want a higher deductible, then I pay more, and vice versa, right?
It's all numbers.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's once you get all the numbers in front of you, it becomes clear at what point does that specific deductible, that reinsurance, at what point does it make the most sense based off of all the results that we've had in the past? So that specific is per individual, and then the aggregate is over everything, so that we can actually come back to the city and say, if we have the absolute worst case that we could ever have, here is our biggest risk.
Right.
And that's where you would have the money sitting in reserve for that occurrence.
And when we get to the budget season, y'all will be able, I know you said it's gonna be a tight window, but you'll be able to present that number and the corresponding reserve amount to us so we can make that decision, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And then once you're fully, the biggest opportunity, especially with the way our pharmacy is trending, is the pharmacy space. That's the biggest opportunity for the largest amount of savings that would have very little, if any, impact on our employees. That's why I say the pharmacy side of it is the easy button.
Right.
Is for the employees and for us. And then these other different levers that we have are just for y'all to look at the impact and then look at the savings and see what makes sense.
And again, for clarity, easy button under the self-insured umbrella.
Only under the
Yeah.
self-insured, that's
O-
right.
Okay, and my last question, I know that we said that the potential rate increase is 35%. I know that we're early on and their first offer isn't their best offer, and I understand if we look like we're going self-insured, their best offer may not be their best offer. I get all that. But do you have any concept of what the difference is for us if we were gonna have a 35% increase staying fully insured? What the savings would be for next year if we went self-insured? Is there any way to think about that in big picture?
So part of the problem that we run into on the fully insured side is actually being able to have visibility to the very specific data. Because on a self-funded side, we can actually pull the data And we can actually predict, and we can price, and we can take it to stop loss. We know exactly
Right.
what it would be. They will reprice everything at the different carrier levels to where they will tell us exactly what they would save us. At fully insured, because the data is not that specific, it's hard for us to get it down to a very detailed number. So what we're gonna come back with, more than likely, is here's your fully insured option. Here are all the competitive options. We need competitive rates below the current renewal to be able to, nobody's gonna move down without something that's better. And so that's why we're looking at all the different options that are out there. We're gonna show you what that renewal is and what that means to the city, and then we're gonna show you what the corresponding line is between the worst-case scenario and the best-case scenario if we're self-funded.
And that's what I was getting at. I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure that we'll have the opportunity to say, if we go this way, it's X million more dollars. If we go this way, it's Y million more dollars. And that way we can make the decision in those terms as well.
100%. That's
Okay.
the only way that you can make a
Yeah, and that's
truly
why I
informed
just want to be clear on that.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate the presentation. That's all I had, Mayor.
Thank you.
Director Hines and then Director Lewis.
John, thanks guys for that presentation. So just to kind of simplify it, we're already spending $19.5 million this year on our insurance premiums, correct?
That's about
So-
correct, yes.
So if everything was flat, we're gonna spend that 19 million, which goes into a fund to pay our claims. So what we gotta calculate is what our reinsurance over and above that is and what the reserves we need are. So.
Correct.
All right, and that number could be somewhere between 10 to 20 million, depending on what we do. But at the end of the day, after we get through 1 year, we have our data.
That's
and
it.
we have an opportunity
That's
to
it.
improve, which is we've never had, and that's kind of the, everything, we've talked about data centers, data's king. That's why you see people giving away free software, they want your data. Well, I deal with it in my business. If somebody's giving you something for free and it involves a computer or your data, you're not getting it for free. So
Absolutely.
you're probably giving up a greater asset than what you realize. So I appreciate that, and it doesn't, coming from companies that have been self-insured and doing that, will we also potentially look at high deductible HSA as an option?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I speak from one experience, the company I'm with, we've been on one for, gosh, going on 8 or 9 years now. And
Yes.
when we studied it, in all cases, when we went to the high deductible plan, we looked at what our old plan was, what a different style plan would be. And in all cases, the high deductible plan actually was better for, not only for the employee cost-wise, but for the company, because it shifted more of a cash pay type deal. But we were also able to fund seed money into we still get seed money into our HSA every year to compensate for that. There was a big enough delta on the savings that we were able to compensate.
And that's, and if we looked on the HDHP side, we would definitely have to consider, because that seed money is what does make that plan work.
Right.
But for one thing is for us to stand up here and say, if we go self-funded, don't worry, the claims are gonna be reduced and everything. We can't do that. But we're just telling you that the only way that we're gonna be able to control what is going out of control is if we move self-funded.
Director Lewis.
Yes. My question is, coming from the employee perspective, how does this benefit them? Is it too early to tell if they're gonna be paying more in insurance costs, or will they be paying less, or do we?
I'll answer that. We've made the commitment that, that our employees don't pay unless you have a family portion, but a single employee does not pay insurance. Now, when they have a family member, they pay a little bit, but we're committed to that.
Got it. So currently, compared to what they're paying now, if we go self-funded, are they looking at a possible increase, or would it stay
It'll stay
flat,
the same
or-
as of right
Okay.
now. But again, the question is not really, because we're committed that our single employee, now if you have a family, you pay a little bit, but we're committed that the vast majority of employees won't pay anything. That's been what they've been accustomed to since the history and inception of this city. We are a government entity. We're not the private sector, so you want to have benefits. That the reason why they choose to come here, they're not choosing to come here because of salaries. And so, that being said, we will be committed to that. Again, as I again, even though it's August, but when we come back later, November, December, the real question is gonna be with the city board. One, because this makes up, 25% of our budget, if we go self-funded, we still gotta find a carrot that's $10 to $15 million that we don't normally spend, and we can figure it out, but if we do that, that means we can't do certain things that we've normally done. I gave an example of union agreements. We don't have union agreements. The good thing is we don't have union agreements before us this year anyway. I'm grateful for that, but in 27, there may be certain things we can't do because we spent $10 or $15 million this year in anticipation of that. And so when you get the phone calls, that's one of those when, you're gonna have to listen to the people, but we're making a decision for the greater good and the big picture of 2,200 people, all of which aren't a part of the union as well, from that standpoint. And the inverse of that, let's just say, because I won't be surprised if the fully insured carriers who don't want to let go of their data and things of that nature, if they want to keep us, that 35% ends up being 15%. And it's still an increase, and we just got to make a decision. Do we want to go self-insured? Now, I will say the last few years, it was what we were faced and the money we were dealing with. We were in middle union agreements and giving raises. We couldn't turn down that discount. We may be in a situation where we can this year, but if we turn down the discount, that means we have to turn something else down in the future.
And Ms. Lewis, to answer additionally on the benefit side, there would be really no difference that the employee would recognize from the benefits. If we were Cigna fully insured or Cigna self-funded, they would know no difference. In fact, a lot of times with the self-funded, it allows us to reach out and get programs to where we can mitigate or erase the out-of-pocket costs for the high claimant employees that are already suffering in the situation that they're going through. If we could do it to mitigate it to where they didn't have that out-of-pocket burden that they currently do, we can do that it just gives us the flexibility to where we could help those employees.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Director Webb, then Director Phillips again.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. And just one clarification and then one question. On the page where it says side by side, at the bottom it says that the city is well above the size where self-funding is normally considered. Yet
Yes.
We have to consider that. So what is that cutoff where that normally would not be considered, and why is there like a cutoff?
So typically the fixed cost. So if you had the smaller the group, there's a certain amount of fixed cost that they have to receive on a group. The smaller the group, those fixed costs go up to where it doesn't make sense because you'd be paying a lot less on the fixed cost built into a fully insured plan than you do on the self-funded plan. The larger I get, the more scale I get. And so once I hit 200 to 250, it used to be 500. We have self-funded groups below 100 even at this point. But it's the scale that you get on those fixed costs is the biggest. And on top of that, the carriers are now more readily available. They're ready to accept a smaller group on the self-funded side.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And one clarification at the beginning, or if you could repeat this. At the beginning, you said something about the drugs like that we see on TV, that we now know the names of a bunch of drugs, frankly, I never heard of maybe 3 years ago. And now I know the names of a whole bunch of those drugs. Could you repeat what you said about that?
Yes, ma'am. So I'd like to what I said was, we're getting more and more brand and specialty medications out there. And so if you know the name of a drug, it is almost certainly expensive, especially if you learned it from television. So the cost has gone up, but I would like to give you an example of that, if you don't mind, Director Webb. So for decades, the tip of the spear for a physician for treating type 2 diabetes would be metformin, right? This is a very inexpensive drug. You could probably get this for $4 right now at Walmart. That's a generic, okay? Recently, over the last several years, we've come up with these GLP-1 drugs, or we've improved these GLP-1 drugs, right? Your Ozempic, your Mounjaro, right? They are quite a bit more effective normally for a type 2 diabetic, helping with weight loss and other things. But they're a little over $1,000 a month. So we've come up with a better medication, but we've traded a $4 generic for a $1,000 a month injectable. So we want to continue to give that kind of treatment to employees, but we also understand that the cost goes up with that, with a new drug under patent protection. If we had a fix for that, we'd be in DC instead of Little Rock, but that's kind of what's happened, if that makes sense.
I would tell you that our claims, when you look at the large claimants, these specialty drugs that we're referring to, typically 5,000 and above per month for the drug. So you start adding it up. Then you get, when you see orphan drugs that they don't produce anymore, that they have to specialize, bring it in, those drugs can run anywhere up to $2 million to $3 million a year. You can't plan on this. Nobody can plan on this. And so what can we do to try to mitigate that? And that's where we go in and you're self-funded, and I can actually take those drugs and move them over to where we get them paid for the employees, but it doesn't hit us at the same level it does. Because the true cost of this drug that we pay from an insurance standpoint does not always mean that's the true cost of the drug. There's a lot of middlemen in the middle that are receiving payments in there. So on the fully insured side, you look at it, rebates probably make up, I don't know, 10 to 20%. Those are going back to the fully insured carrier and the PBM, the pharmacy benefit manager. When you're self-funded, we get those, the city gets those rebates. And so that's why I say what it does is, and the word always scares me when people say it, but full transparency. We see exactly what we're paying for. We know what we're getting.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Director Phillips, then Director Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I had one more follow-up. I just want to be clear on this. I know that after 1 year of being self-insured, we have our data, then you can make better decisions going forward. So in your experience, do organizations ever go self-insured back to fully insured because the market shows it that way? Or is this one of those things that once you do it, you're kind of there and it only makes sense to keep going because now you have the data and the transparency to make different decisions going forward?
And I would tell you that 80% of the time, they never go back. The 20% probably that may go back and forth is usually on that line of 100 to 250.
Employees?
That's right.
Okay.
And so they're really kind of not sure if they should be fully insured or self-funded. And the reality is, if I'm looking at a plan and we've had a great run self-funded, and then a fully insured carrier comes in and says, I'm going to take all this off your plate and save you 20%, the money still stays and stays in the self-funded insured account. So that money is still going to be there. And we've had them go, they leave, they go fully insured, and then they get a better offer self-funded the next year, they go right back, and they've also got a savings that's already there.
And it's a 1 year deal, right? We evaluate these year over year, so it's not like if we say yes, we're saying yes to 2035 or something.
Bless you. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks again for the presentation. It was helpful.
Thank you.
Director Miller? Thank you for being patient.
No, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for this presentation. I don't live in this world. So Director Computers was saying he lives in this. I think I understand how you save money at the pharmacy. Generics versus all the rest of the stuff. That's what we're talking about here primarily.
That's one of the ways.
Okay.
The biggest is going to be brand and specialty is where we're going to save money.
Okay, so I kind of understand that. Do you guys use artificial intelligence to come up with these presentations? I mean, I'm a layperson. I think I could use AI and ask the benefits of all these. I can have some tremendous questions for you next time you come here by using AI. So you guys use AI for this stuff?
We do use AI.
Okay. So
We use AI more administratively in our offices with the things that we do from a technology standpoint, payroll, but also from a marketing standpoint, AI is hard to beat. As an attorney, though, I'm not going to rely on AI to make decisions for me, or I'm gonna research and make sure that everything that we're looking at is gonna be exactly what we say it is.
Well, I won't use it to make decisions, but I think if I said, show me the difference between fully level and funded, and you tell AI to come up with it, I can probably come up with a lot of questions for you, couldn't I?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, members of the board, if you looked at the agenda, any questions on the consent agenda or the modification? Director Phillips?
I just wanted to give a shout out to, I guess, you, Mayor, and the city manager and the public works team. I know when we had our winter events, all of us was getting emails about why don't we have more snow plows and salt to deal with those issues, and it looks like we're being proactive and getting those things stocked up, and getting newer and better equipment online for us. So I know that's helpful to all us as board members and more important to our citizens. So I just wanted to say thank you for adding that to the agenda so we can improve it.
Our pleasure. Any questions, any planning items? Questions on the planning items? I know Director Adcock, you want number 14. Can we show the pictures on number 14? Director Webb?
Thank you. Do you want me to go ahead? Because mine's on a different item.
Is it on the items that are on the agenda?
It's on 12.
Yes.
And Brad, I apologize for not asking you this earlier in the day.
Yeah, no problem.
But it's a question about the difference between R4 and R5, and I haven't had a chance to look at everything yet. And
Sure.
so what is the difference we expect in terms of number of people?
And what number are you talking about, number 12?
On item 12, from R4 to R5 on B Street?
Oh, right. So it is, right now, it is very dense. It's a non-conforming use, so what they're doing is they're changing it to R5, which is Urban Residence District. Can be no more than 32 units per gross acre, so they're just rezoning it that way to come into compliance. R5 is across the B Street from that as well, so it conforms with the zoning around the area.
Thank you.
Director Miller?
Thanks, Mayor. Brad, let me ask you, I had a chance to look at some of these, but on number 6, what's going on there? Number 6 and of course number 7. Number 6, we're revoking something we approved.
Sure, yes, sir. This was rezoned back in 1990, I believe. So the underlying zoning is R4. So they just want to go back over time. It had been a planned development commercial, planned development office. So they just want to go back and use it as a two-family residence. So they want to revoke the planned development, go back to its base zoning and use it for two-family.
Okay. So we gave them this in 90 and they want it back, or?
Yes, sir. I believe it may have changed hands over time, and I think the house is probably more suited to residential.
Okay, thanks. And on number 7, we got an existing triplex and they're going to.
Yeah, this is a strange one, actually. 24, it was approved to be a triplex. They have decided that they want to take that away, reconfigure it, and make it into a duplex and then a single-family residence. So they're going to have to do some work that they already put into it. They're going to have to put in some walls, put in some fire rating and stuff for the duplex. So same number of units, I guess, but in a different configuration.
Yeah, seems a little strange, but that's fine. I'm on a roll, Mayor, so. On number 10, what is that? I think we talked a little bit about it. I'm trying to figure out
Sure, this is a really cool project from the folks over at Arkansas Baptist College. We've been working with them, since maybe May on this. They got some funding that they need to spend before the end of the year. And so they want to they want to develop a workforce village, Booker T. Washington Workforce Village, actually. This is
I mean,
an
that's just the name, Booker T. Washington, that's the name they get, okay.
Yes, sir. So it's going to be like a trade school. So they'll have different trade areas and in this, on these different pods, some of like HVAC, plumbing, some of the mechanical trades. So it's just an expansion of their campus. You'll be able to access it from 17th Street with the new parking, and then they're going to redo some of the parking along 16th as well.
And as I've seen, this was sort of where the, used to be President's House, and it's right east of that, that area right there.
Yes, sir.
And there were no neighbors that raised any concerns about?
No, sir, not at all. I think they did. I think they went out. I mean, when we met with them, we told them at the beginning that they probably needed to go and do some knocking on doors and some handshaking and let everyone know what they were doing, and I believe they did it. So we didn't have anyone come to the commission and speak against it, no.
That's good. All right, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Members of the board, any more questions? Director Adcock?
Mayor, it looks like that all of these houses are in one ward, except one is in another ward. We have 359 boarded-up houses in this city, the last time I got a list. What are our plans? I'm doing 12, and this is the first time in several months that we've looked at these. At this rate, we're going to have houses boarded up years and years and years. And I know that that causes negative on our communities. So what can we do to do more of this?
Salisha and Director Adcock, I believe we do this almost monthly, not several months. I just want to make sure we're aware of that.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor, Board of Directors. Mayor is correct, Director Adcock. We do come before you all at least 7 times a year to bring these ordinance demos to you all. We also conduct emergency demos, and we are also giving them to our land bank administrator to see if they can go into the land bank. We also have ongoing meetings with legal to talk about the foreclosure process to see if we can get that.
Okay, so how could a neighborhood that has several of these in their neighborhood, how can they get these moving ahead further in their areas?
So we do it by nuisances. So if they see anything that is boarded and secured and they continue to see homeless people in there, squatters in there, they can reach out to myself, John Jenkins, who is the code enforcement manager, and then we'll ensure that it gets to you all for a vote.
Okay, I would like to, you said you've done this 7 times this year already?
Roughly, I don't have the exact number.
I would like to see a complete list of the ones that has been done this year.
Yes, ma'am, I'll get that to you.
Okay, and Mayor, do we know anything about the building on Asher that this board several months ago asked that we take it down and it's still up?
Which one?
The, used to be Mike's Grocery.
Yes, I believe that's in legal. From a legal standpoint, I think they're going back and forth, is my last understanding.
Okay, if we could have an update, because I get.
And I think, just for anyone, we live in a property right state that's very conservative. It's very hard to take someone's property away in the state of Arkansas. We just can't go as much as we want to. You just can't go bulldoze someone's house. Or heirs to the properties as well. And so I want to say to this team, I mean, let's get the actual number we've done, not only last year, but this year, but they're churning it out. And the timing goes along with dealing with the legal aspects of it. I'll give you a great example. You take the AutoZone on Asher that we took down. It took a 2.5-year to 3-year process just to get that done because of the back and forth on the legal end and the state's property rights. Anyone tells you it can just happen overnight, they're not telling the truth. And so just want to make sure it's very clear on that. But because we got a great legal team who works very hard, and for us to be doing it 7 times a month, and each time it's probably 10 to 15 each time, that's getting close to 100, if not 100, a year that we're doing. Is that right? All right.
Thank you.
But we need to do more. Any more questions? Other things, yes, before we adjourn, yes. Yes, ma'am.
In looking at the heat advisory over the next few days, I would assume if it's dangerous that we won't be doing yard waste? And if we're not, are we gonna send out a notice or what?
We do yard waste every day at the point that it gets to 105 heat index based off of our supervisor, not based off of, if you look at your phone, it says 105.
Yeah.
But based off of our supervisors, when they get the 105 index number that they have their system, they get pulled, those who are on yard waste get pulled in to then go help out with solid waste, which is trash pickup. So we do yard waste every day, and we're gonna always do yard waste every day. And we actually on mandatory overtime, and so they'll be working on Saturday and Sunday as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
And Mayor, let me ask you, our cooling centers are open?
Yes.
They open when the
Even-
temp is,
As well as on the weekend,
and that's from 8 till?
8 to 7.
Okay.
Any more questions, concerns? Meeting adjourned.